Welcome to the Witness Business Podcast, episode 80. I don't know why the ones that are divisible by 5, they just always, I'm just get so excited about them.
They get you going, gets the people going.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but it's just
feels like a milestone each time. Because I mean, if you had told us we would make it to 8 back in the beginning, I'd been like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Alex Lagos was episode 74. He said he's a kind of a podcast guru, and he said most podcasts don't make it past episode 8. So
yeah,
here we are, 8 times 10. Look at me doing math.
Yeah.
And today we got a good one. I loved this interview with Nate Mall of I don't know, it's Nathan and Sons Underbrush Gum, kind of a mouthful. Nathan and Sons,
pun intended. Is that what you were doing there?
and Nathan was kind enough. He's got some of this like what do you call it? Functional gum? Would you call it functional gum?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's got different elements to it, like hydroxyapatite.
I come from like a fitness bet. When I think functional anything, I'm like, okay, is it giving me caffeine? Is it giving me green tea extract? But his is more functional for the teeth.
Yes.
And he was kind enough to send us some. We got to sample it.
And it's really good.
I gave some to my wife before the show, so she tried it, and she was gonna thank me for it, and I said, no, it's meant to be shared.
Yeah, I felt the setup coming on that one. So I'm onto your. You could feel a joke. I know you
coming.
too.
You feel the pun.
I just know you too well.
Pun on the way.
Yeah. It's gonna be punful
for sure.
Now, moving away from punful and into painful, Nate shares a story with us about how an experience that he had with some dental issues that kind of changed the trajectory of how he viewed gum, and he started to read, the elements of what goes into your chewing gum, and kind of found some, some would call it interesting, others would call it horrifying discoveries for what's in your standard chewing gum. So he set out to change that, to make it different. And, we appreciate his time, his explanation of how he got into it and what the steps that he took just for the procurement, like not just to create the product, but to procure the different elements that went into the product and figuring it out and fine tuning it. So super interesting interview. I think we think that you all are going to really enjoy it.
Yeah, what I love about this show is when somebody comes up with an idea and they're like, hey, that would be a good idea. And instead of just like letting that be that, actually running with it, even when it's in an industry that you have no business being in. And I love this story today with Nate because that's the story is, he had an issue with his own, dental circumstance and decided to do something about it. And so we're excited to share this conversation with you. Without further ado, let's witness business with Nate Mall. All right, Nate of Nathan and Sons Underbrush Gum. Thanks for jumping on the Witness Business Podcast. How are we doing today?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on, guys.
As you may or may not know, one of the things we like to start off with in doing these episodes is this question. What would you say is the worst job you've ever had?
Yeah, I did actually think about this one because you guys do it on every episode, and it's a good question. I would say stocking shelves in the grocery store, and I did that not even as an employee of the grocery store, as an employee of a company that the grocery store outsources to do this horrific job. And so you come in really late at night and stay till really early hours in the morning, and you're just doing the same thing on repetition over and over and over again. And as a creative person, I feel like that's like the most soul-crushing thing you can do.
Yeah, you have all the time for ideas, but a job can either be backbreaking or it can be monotonous. It can't be both.
Yeah.
What would you say? Is there anything you could pull from that experience that maybe propelled you into being successful today on the other side of that job?
Yeah, trying to avoid ever being in that situation ever again.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Very strong motivator.
A lot of times the answer is more, philosophical or deep. And other times it's like, just that I didn't want to do that. And I needed to do something or build something, so I never had to do that again. So we can appreciate that answer.
And you usually get you get bosses that I mean, no one really likes a boss for the most part, at least in those types of positions. But I knew early on that I was not going to be very employable because I just don't mesh well with authority type figures.
You are your own boss,
Yeah.
and so you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it. Now let's get into that, how you became your own boss. So I found your company through targeted ads. So shout out to good marketing, right? But I went to your website and I started reading more about you, and I was kind of going through the about us section and your origin story. And the way that you kind of described it was that you were waiting for a flight, you were bored, you flipped over a pack of gum, and you're like, what's in this? It's kind of like the pre-cell phone version of going to the bathroom, where you're like, what's in the shampoo bottle? You're bored, and you just start reading ingredient lists. Can you kind of tell us like that story, how it all started?
Yeah, I mean that's the stuff on the about us page. What's not in there, I was writing, I'm like, damn, this is already so long. I'll just leave it a little more simple. But it was a combination of a few things that, discovering gum base in the airport, but I had actually gotten a horrific toothache. And I couldn't go into the dentist. Ended up needing to get a root canal, and I couldn't go into the dentist for like 2 weeks. So those 2 weeks were just living hell, staying up all night, not being functional like in the daytime. And I don't know if you've ever had a toothache that bad where it'll just be extremely strong, like sharp pain randomly, and it'll go away for like a few minutes. You start to feel better, and then it'll just come right back again. And so I was driving to work and just tears running down my face just because I was in so much pain. Like, oh my God, I need to make sure that I'm never in this situation ever again. And so during that 2 weeks, I spent a lot of time just going down the rabbit hole of like holistic oral care, what's available, what ingredients people are using. And that's kind of when I saw nanohydroxyapatite. It wasn't really that popular at the time in the US. There were like a couple brands on Amazon. David's toothpaste, which is a really great brand. They were one of the first ones that I saw. And along with that, I saw that mastic was something that people were talking about on like the corners of the internet, and they were talking about the antibacterial properties of it. And so looking into that as like a chewing gum, and then discovering that the first chewing gums in America were spruce sap, which also had antibacterial properties. I thought, man, this would be really great if someone combined all these ingredients. I should look it up, and if it's around, I'm going to buy it myself. When I looked it up, found nothing, and then that's when it hit me like, oh, I got to make this.
So no, so not a background as a gum maker, to
No,
say the least.
Not from Big
To say the
Gum.
least.
no,
Yeah,
no.
you're not coming from Trident or Bubblicious.
Yeah, some things that kind of folded in really well with the gum that I had done previously, but definitely didn't work in a bubble gum factory.
I appreciate this story though, because honestly, reading your about us, and how you just like flipped over a pack of gum, and then it reads like you were just like, I'm going to start a company, and I was like, this guy is dangerous. Like if he just decides he's just going to go ahead and do it, but that
We've
kind
had
of
that we've had that
yeah
story on here before with
yeah
Nevin Eyewear, the
yeah,
founder of Nevin, lost a pair of sunglasses and asked for he had just gotten them and he asked for a replacement and they were like, yeah, it's going to be another $200 and
and he
he's
was
like,
like,
well,
that's dumb.
that's dumb. I'm going to start my own sunglasses company and I'm going to have the best warranty policy of all time. And now he's crushing it as as a sunglasses manufacturer. But so is that kind of what happened? So you just all these things are happening, the root canal, the uh, kind of airport experience, and then you just decide I'm going to do this. How like again, I always like to put myself in your shoes here as the interview guest. There's a lot like there's a lot that I don't know about how gum is even made.
I'm yeah,
How
I'd
do you
say
figure this out?
I'm most hung up on like not only the sourcing of the products, but like what do I put in it? Because
I've seen your videos on Instagram of like
yeah,
kind of heating it up and kind of mixing it around and it's gooey and like how do you even begin to figure this out?
Yeah, and I guess the third part of kind of like that discovery story was I was already looking for like a product that I wanted to make. You know how you guys before this call you were talking about how you call each other, toss around half baked ideas. I have a buddy that's just like that. And he was actually my old business partner, and I guess still current business partner, but not in this company. But always tossing around ideas. You know, we had a company at the time, and I'd like fallen out of love with it for at least a year and a half, and it was a constant conversation of we should think of something else to do. Like I don't really want to do this anymore, and I feel like we're kind of constrained by the type of company that we are. But we were selling flavors and aromas, and so I've done a lot of formulation for flavors and aromas, and that helped me a lot with this company. But funny enough, he thought that this idea was really dumb, and we were always shitting on each other's ideas. And so this was the one I was like, hey, I think this is actually there might be something here. He's like, no, let's do a air fryer cooking spray, which was another kind of silly idea that he had. Um, but I think already being like in the mindset of looking for the product allowed me to see that this was an opportunity like early on.
One thing I always like to ask, I mean, obviously, I want to get back to the kind of I guess, the alchemy or the chemistry of it, of like how you were putting these things together. But I want to get into like, what about the current industry? That you said, I'm not about this. Like, what we have currently is a problem, and what made you decide that you could provide the solution? Obviously, you're actively providing it now, but you had to kind of reason through it. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, I've been into natural products for a really long time. I was an executive chef of a vegan restaurant, funny enough, back in the day, and then went on to start my own restaurant. So I was always in that sort of like health like world. And my mindset was just like everything in the store like pretty much sucks. Like 99% of the products in the store is just filler garbage. It's usually just products that they were able to make with waste from other products that they produce. Like all the process junk in the store is really just like waste product from making actual food or processing some other food. And the gum base was like the most shocking thing though, because at least the other stuff is like edible, and with microplastics kind of being a really big topic, I was honestly just shocked that like people are chewing on plastic and rubber. And when I talked with other people about it, they had no idea. Pretty much everyone I talked to had no idea that that was the case. And I thought, why is it like this? Like this should be extremely not okay. People are freaking out about plastic straws and plastic water bottles. Why are so many people chewing on plastic gum?
Yeah, you might be opening some eyes right now, just even by sharing that in and of itself.
I hope so.
That's the goal. So I guess like what's step one, or I don't know if we've covered step one, but like getting this out of your head then. Like so you're uncovering that
So
maybe
you've worked four different careers at this point: chef, stocker, business owner of fragrances. Like, you've done all these different things. Your friend, you know, pours water on the fire of your idea, but you proceed with it by taking step one, which is
which
what?
is what? Yeah, that is the question.
Just researching. I mean, I was at the time we had tossed around so many ideas, and I was actually getting kind of annoyed to the point where I'm like, okay, let's just pick one and do it, because I'd rather do something than just keep tossing around ideas, every morning. And so when he said that he didn't want to do it, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to chase down this rabbit hole, and we'll see what happens. We'll still keep tossing around ideas, but I need to actually do something, now. So step one was just continuing that research, looking actually into like the chewing gum industry as a whole. It's a super boring, uh, outdated sort of industry. Like there's nothing really exciting going on. I did notice that there were a couple like natural gum brands, and there was at least one, maybe two like functional gum brands. And I liked the idea of gum as a delivery device for, instead of a capsule. And I thought that that was something that had could have a lot of longevity as a business. And since I was already looking into like the oral care stuff, obviously that was going to be the first product. But looking into the various saps, diving deep into the scientific research, mastic is one of Greece's like most prized exports, and they have one organization that controls the entire mastic supply of the world. It's a sap that's only grown in Chios, Greece, and this organization, Chios Mastic Growers Association, they want this to be a really prominent product, so they dump a lot of money into continuing the scientific research. And so there's a lot of stuff you can read regarding mastic. Spruce is not as in depth, but it contains some of the same compounds I saw. And then I started reading these like indigenous like herb books, historical books on just what they ate around the time, how they were creating medicine, and I noticed that spruce sap was mentioned a lot in almost every single book. They mentioned spruce sap, and I said, okay, this so obviously this works if they've used it like across multiple tribes for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and I really liked the idea of it being the first chewing gum in America. I thought that was a really fun thing. And I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to include spruce sap, like absolutely, as an American made company, and revive this industry. And so then came, beyond those ingredients, which were like the hardest to kind of do research and experiment with, reviving like spruce sap as a supply chain, because it didn't really exist. You could buy from a couple small sellers on Etsy here and there. When I was first buying it, I was paying around $500 a pound for this stuff, for like clarified spruce sap. You could buy raw stuff for about half that. And the reason why it's half the price is because it's a huge pain to filter spruce sap. It's so sticky, and you have to do it while it's hot, but you can't get it too hot or you burn it. So that was a whole kind of experience in itself. But getting spruce sap from American forests like into my hands in large quantities was a whole other set of challenges. So I'd say those are like the first steps of getting started.
Okay, so that's the primary iteration. I I just it's funny. I'm trying to think of a more fitting metaphor, but I'm just imagining like my toddler kind of like making like a mud pie. They just take sticks and dirt and all this different stuff and they put it in and they're like, "Look at this, Dad." And I just imagine myself like if I were in your shoes getting all these products initially, it's like I have no idea how much to put in and at what ratio. Because I mean, looking at your website, you're adding mineral clay, you're adding spruce gum, which you mentioned, you're adding mastic and terpenes and Arabic gum,
Eggshell powder and
all this different stuff. And it's like, not only do I want to add it, I want it to taste good, but I have no idea what ratios to do it. So were you just kind of playing mad scientist and throwing little hunks in your mouth and seeing what had good mouth feel and what would go well together?
Yeah, well, believe me, I've made a lot of really bad gum, like so
that's part of it.
much. But one of the easiest tricks for me to at least get like a starting ratio is I just bought like 10 of the top gum brands, regular chewing gums and a couple natural gums. And then I weighed them before chewing, chewed it for like 20 minutes or so, and then weighed them after chewing. Because the two main ingredients, at least in store bought gums, is just going to be sweetener and the gum base. Flavoring is used in very small amounts. Any of these like anti-caking agents are going to be used in very small amounts. And so that gave me a rough idea of the sweetener to gum base ratio. And then it came to figuring out the formulation of the gum base itself. And that was much harder for sure. And that was definitely a lot of trial and error of just mixing different ratios of the saps together. Is this too sticky? Is this too hard? Um, does this taste good?
That may be the leading one potentially,
Yeah.
depending who you ask.
What would you say is the amount of time and money spent before you ever had
I
a
was gonna say
product on the market?
$500 a pound for that sap.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how fast you burn through that pound, but like,
Yeah.
I imagine you think like, okay, well, making chewing gum maybe I don't know, kind of offhand, just thinking about it, like, oh, shouldn't be that expensive. But like, if you're making lots and lots of bad gum to figure out how to make good gum, like I imagine it could have gotten expensive fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's yes, but also no. You'll have people that'll dump, 20, 50 grand into developing a product and they get it and then it's, not sellable. The nice part is I'm doing all the work myself and I'm able to control how much I'm actually making. So my first batches of gum were, 25 to 50 grams on like a really small scale. If I felt like I could make it good enough at that scale, then I'll make like a slightly larger batch and see if anything changes. Uh, but probably, less than $5,000 to kind of get through all that. And I want to say like all in, I built the initial website myself, labor's free for me. And, we've definitely spent less than $10,000 to get it started for sure. I can't quantify how many experimental ingredients I bought that I didn't end
Well,
up using.
I mean, but it is one of those things that I think Steve's question is trying to demonstrate is that you don't have to have 50K stashed in a bank account to be able to launch something and make something happen. I mean, from the way you described it, it's like make a small batch and then if it's terrible, make it 1% less worse each small batch
Yeah.
until you finally get the final product. I do
Yeah,
want to
well, and then real quick, the second part of that question was, I don't know if you answered it. How long did it take you to get ultimately to get a viable product on the market?
About a year or so. I think I shipped my first samples like May, June 2023.
I want to know. I guess I'm going to ask maybe a two-parter too. Like building off of you send out those first samples. Like when did you realize that you had a true market for the product? Because obviously you identified a hole, but it's one thing to identify a hole and realize, and another thing to realize that you're equipped to fill it. So like, what was kind of that moment for you? And then also, I want to give you a moment to kind of talk about the benefits of your product because obviously it's one thing to say hey you're not going to chew on plastic with me but I also want you to be able to unpack for our listeners like what the benefits are as a selling point for what you've created so that aha moment and then the value proposition.
Yeah, once I had like a basic like 2-page website up, which was just homepage and then product page. I think I spent $50 a day on meta ads for I don't know less than a week, and I probably didn't even have it on every single day. But I got like 30 people that bought the product. I didn't have any packaging. I just had a render of the product, and so every time someone bought, I'd reach out to them and say, hey, thank you for your interest. This is just a new product that I'm experimenting with. I don't have any packaging for this, but I'll give you, two options if you like. One, I can refund you right now, no hard feelings. Two, when I get packaging in for it, I'll ship you your order then, but I'll also send you like samples of the gum now. It's just not going to be in the box that you saw online. And everyone said yes, like moved me to pre-order. They were so interested in the product that no one canceled on the spot. And actually sending gum back and forth to those people was extremely helpful over the next few months. And so that was kind of like the first moment where I was like, wow, this is actually something. Because if someone sent me that message, they'd be like, just refund me, bro. It's cool. Let me know. Keep me on the email list. Let me know when you have a product to ship in the packaging.
Yeah, don't send me like a Ziploc bag with stuff in it. Like I'm
Yeah. I'm like, what did I
can't do
just
that.
do? Just bought some
Yeah.
from random person online.
Yeah.
And let's see, what was the second part of your question?
It was just kind of like the idea of you identified the whole, but I also want you to be able to kind of talk about the value proposition that you add with your product because again, more than not than just being not plastic that people are chewing on, like what are the benefits of what you've created based on all the different
What are
things that you've
people
sourced?
getting from chewing your gum versus your other, big name gums out there?
You could take it as free marketing if you want.
Yeah.
For sure. And I actually think like the plastic free angle is like the least interesting one. And I really just mention it because it's something that a lot of people don't know right off the bat. But, most food is plastic free anyways, and there are other natural gums out there. I think what makes Underbrush special is it's the first like functional natural remineralizing chewing gum. uh, the whole reason they put fluoride in the water is to remineralize your teeth. uh, why not have something that doesn't come with the downsides of fluoride, in chewing gum format? And then why aren't chewing gums, if we're smart enough to make xylitol chewing gums, which are supports remineralization and starves bacteria, why aren't we making a chewing gum that does more than that? These saps naturally have antibacterial properties. There are dozens of studies, even almost an infinite amount of studies showing not just the ingredients themselves, but the compounds inside the ingredients and their effects on bad oral bacteria. To me, I, I was shocked that it didn't really exist. It seemed like a no brainer. If you're going to be chewing gum, it should be something that's doing something positive for your oral health. Um, but yeah, I'd say that those are like the main points: the antibacterial portion and remineralization, and also, as the kids say, get a snatch jaw. Our gum is a little more stiff than regular gum, and so there are a decent
It's
amount of people that will chew it for the
it's good though.
jaw.
I mean, you were kind enough to send us some. It is good. Like, you can chew on that forever. And if you've, I mean, I've given it to my wife, and she jokes that it help. She can focus because of it. She's like, she can focus just on chewing the gum itself. You you sound like you have like a wealth of experience from other ventures that you've done. You talked about the fragrance and the flavor development. So did that kind of just naturally dovetail with different flavor production once you had mastered an actual healthy gum base, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, it helped a lot. I mean, the thing that helped the most was just having that kind of culinary background, always experimenting with new ingredients and finding interesting ways to combine things. And I think that that's ultimately why I could do flavor formulation. I mean, most people that do flavor development, they have a degree and they work like in a lab. And I'm over here just using taste and smell to make flavors that people are willing to pay a lot of money for. And I feel like that helped kind of hone in my skills a bit. But by the time it came to the chewing gum, like I already had a good idea of what I needed to do flavor wise and how to balance things out.
And you talking about having people pay money for your product. Another thing that I feel like I ask this question more commonly than maybe Steve does when it comes up is, how do you go about setting your price point? Like, do you want a specific margin and then you work backwards? Or is it kind of dictated, especially because of some of the specialty products that you're buying, is it kind of dictated by your cost of acquisition that you then have to kind of pass on to the customer?
I actually got the pricing wrong, uh, very wrong in the beginning. We're we were probably, yeah, a little more than 50% cheaper when we first started. And I was just so excited to sell the product. I have basically no overhead because it's just me. I'm not thinking that far ahead as, like what is customer acquisition costs going to like look like in the future. I was really only thinking about getting the product into people's hands and getting that really good feedback that, would allow me to improve it, down the road. Um, and I was also a little nervous just because even at half the price that we are now, we would still be the most expensive chewing gum like in the country by far. And people are super price sensitive. I'll say that one thing that gave me the courage to charge what we were asking in the beginning is seeing what Native did. You see their deodorants, they're like 12 bucks a stick, and regular deodorants that you're used to seeing are like $2. I'm like, okay, if people are willing to pay a premium for something like deodorant, um, and really the only benefit is not smelling, I think people would be willing to pay a premium for a functional gum that also keeps your breath from not smelling, but does something positive for your oral health at the same time. And I was right. And we've done a few different price raises as we've kind of like refined what it should look like on our end. But price right now is dictated by largely ingredient costs and what we think uh, they're going to cost in the future. We try to get ahead of that now.
I mean, that's that's exactly what that's exactly what I wanted to know. I mean, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty of like, hey, we have X margin, but just kind of like kind of like you said in the beginning, like, oh, it turns out we were underpriced. Like that's probably
Yeah.
100% a mistake I would make.
Are you still a one-man team? Do you have a team of people working on this? And, where are you kinda manufacturing all of this? I know everybody tends to start small out of their kitchen or whatever they, like, legally are allowed to do, from a small scale, but as you've grown, how has your team grown, if at all, or are you still kinda just a one-man shop?
Yeah, actually, real quick, going back to the previous question, what also was like kind of a shocker that made me realize, okay, we can charge a lot more for this and relieve a lot of the pressure of growing. As I saw how much the knockoffs of our product were selling for,
I
and
was going to ask you about that. I just saw some content you made about that. About like 7 out of 10 consumers are buying knockoff products that are poorly made. I'll let you go ahead and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I just saw you post something about that.
yeah, well, as like the business has become increasingly more expensive to run, and we're dipping our toes into meta ads and figuring all that out, I noticed that the knockoffs for our product, where they're either shipping people like our box with different product inside, or they've now kind of switched to their own sort of branding as our trademarks have come through. They're charging $40 for 2 packs of gum, and I can look at the history on Amazon and use some other tools and these people are selling probably 500,000 to $1 million of gum, and just at those prices. We're not going to go up to those prices, but I thought that that was really really interesting. And I think the product is unique enough that that's what allows that to happen. So I felt more comfortable over the last year or so, making sure that we're not undercharging for this stuff. And if we want to sell gum, we got to be able to do it long term, and we're only really going to be able to do that if we can fuel growth, right? Okay, sorry, I felt like that was an important.
No, that's great.
No, yeah, we appreciate that.
And sorry, what was the?
Are you still a one-man shop? Are you,
Oh,
how have you grown over the last couple of years doing this?
yeah. Oh, God, no. I was January last year, January 2024. I was a one man show, and I made my first hires in January. Right now, we have more than 60 people that work here. We have 3 different
Wow.
warehouses. We're sort of taking over, like, as warehouses become available in our little business block, uh, taking them as they come on the market. And we're still really, really strapped for space. But we have a full manufacturing facility that we've built out, which is could probably be a whole podcast episode in itself. How insane of a process that was. And then we have a separate facility that's just for dry goods storage, packing up into multi-pack boxes, and the third facility that's just fulfillment.
Yeah, so not a one man show is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
definitely.
That's awesome. Congrats. I think it's really cool to see, like, when somebody gets an idea out of their head, which is kind of the whole theme of this podcast, and that not only like is fulfills your dreams as an entrepreneur, but also creates
You
a
put food on the
life.
table for other people.
Yeah, for people. You have employees that now depend on you to, thrive with their families and make a living for themselves. So I always think that's a really cool part of entrepreneurship. If you don't mind me asking, like, you're 60 plus man shop now, uh taking over a whole block, it sounds like. How is business? Like, what's your customer base? I don't know, whatever you're willing to give us, whether that's dollars or gums sold, or whatever
It's not a
units
you
you
gotta
want to
say
talk in.
it's not a gotcha question. It's a just give us an idea of
Just
what
curious,
you're
like,
working with.
how business has been going for you the last maybe few months.
Yeah, it's going good. And I got to also roll it back and say, like, I've only been able to do this because of the team that I have. Like, I have a super strong like management team, and we've done some crazy stuff, just worked insane hours, just making the impossible happen. And so, as much as I'd like to take credit for everything, like, my team is just not only talented but extremely hardworking and dedicated to what we're doing. So I got
I
to
think
give props
that
there.
a lot of the biggest names in business talk about hire people that are smarter than you. Like, you can't do it alone. If you want to scale, We talk about that on this show a lot too. It's like if you want to build a business, if you want to get a business off the ground, you can probably do it by yourself. If you want to scale to, multi eight, nine figures, like you're not doing that by yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to a good team, but you are the visionary.
Yeah.
That's why
Yes.
we're sitting here talking with you now.
Yes.
thank you. And I still struggle with that. Like I'm trying to hire for like marketing roles, and man, it is so tough to find really, really talented people, at least in the marketing world.
Yeah,
All the good
and
ones
who
are
care as much as you do? I'm sure
taken. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
difficult.
But as far
Yeah.
as the business, we've grown from, I think our very first month we had like 20 something thousand in sales. I don't know how many orders that is, but we're doing in the realm of 100,000 orders a month right now. And what's kind of funny is I went to an event and we were getting pitched by 3PLs, and they were kind of going over their numbers and what they could do for us. And all I could think of in my head was like, we have a killer team of 5 people that are shipping 100,000 plus orders a month, and the system that you're pitching me and the cost just, I think either my team is like insanely freakish or you guys have some stuff to tighten up on your end.
They came to you and pitched you and said, "What if you paid more to do less?"
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, 100,000 units, 100,000 like sales per month
Yeah,
is
100,000, various pack sizes,
orders.
2 pack,
Yeah.
4 pack, 8 pack.
I mean, that's incredible. So congrats on that
Yeah,
because I think anybody listening to this probably, would have been happy with, you know, a handful as
yeah,
like a side business. Like, oh, I sold 100 packs of gum this month. Like, that's awesome too. But the
yeah.
fact that you're selling hundreds of thousands of these is insane.
I mean, we had an entrepreneur on Bally Mendels. She talked to us about she created a line of curries, and she said that at her first trade show she sold 8 jars, and 4 of them were to family, and that was enough for her to be like 4 other people wanted my product,
Yeah,
and that's enough. So I mean, it all starts somewhere.
yeah.
Um,
You can't
I
beat
did
that feeling, man. The first time
no.
someone you don't know buys your product, the only thing that really beats that is when you talk to that person and they love the product. Man, I would do it
Yeah,
all over again just for
the
that.
Yeah.
entrepreneurial high.
Yep.
I do want to ask you though, because like kind of an undercurrent that I'm picking up through this whole interview is like you strike me as someone that's like very self assured. Like you do the research, you make the decision that you think is best, and you kind of roll with it. And you've got a great team that's around you, as you've referenced. But I do kind of want to know like beyond the only thing I've really heard you say that you wish that you could kind of do over is that you had revised your pricing point or had it set better initially. Is there anything that you would kind of say as I don't know, a word from the wiser of like, hey, I did this and I wish I could do it differently. I wish I had done it differently.
That's awesome. I'm glad you think that because it's just been terrifying and extremely like euphoric the whole ride.
I think that's like parenting. You're like, this is great. I don't know what I'm doing, but
I mean, there's like we were talking about in the beginning. Not everything is applicable to everyone, and there isn't like just one set plan. And like as cliche as it is, like it's really really simple. Like if you want to do something, all you have to do is just not give up, and it doesn't mean just come up with one product idea and stick with that like forever. Like don't give up on trying to do it. Pivot, 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 reiterate, reiterate, reiterate. But as long as you never give up, like you're just, all you have to do is outlast everybody else, and everyone gives up extremely easy. So if you plan on never giving up, I mean, you're gonna make it really no matter what.
it's good advice.
Well, people listening to this and they're like, I got to try this stuff. Can you pitch for us? Like, give us your socials, give us your website. Where can we find you? Where can we find the product? All things Underbrush,
Yeah,
or all things Nathan and Sons, I should say.
yeah. NathanandSons.com, and then on TikTok, Instagram, it's just at Nathan.and.sons.
And
Perfect.
all the products are like on the website. They're easy to find.
He's got
Yeah,
multiple flavors. And then
All
I think,
accessories.
yeah, you also did us a real solid in letting us sample an unreleased flavor, right?
Ooh, are we
Oh,
allowed to talk about that?
yeah, go for it.
It's a tease. Well, we'll let you go ahead and market it because like we're the one enjoying it, but you're the one that gets to distribute it.
Okay,
So
I
do you
wasn't
want to talk about?
sure if that actually made it in there. So you guys did get honey bun.
We got
Yes,
honey
that
bun.
is the one, and that was
Okay.
actually my favorite
Oh,
out
love
of
that.
out of all of them. So
Yeah, it's a flavor that we've been teasing for like honestly almost a year. You know, we got the packaging and the launch time just didn't work out. Surprisingly hard to get organic honey in really large quantities, and
mm.
very hard to get like whole honeycomb with honey in it like in large quantities. So we had to figure that out. By the time we got it figured out, it was already summer, and the gum is naturally softer than the rest of our flavors. And I was afraid that it would be even more prone to melting in Arizona 100 plus degree weather, sitting in a mailbox for 8 hours a day. So we pushed the launch back to fall this year. And so it uses whole honeycomb, like real Madagascar vanilla bean, Mucuna honey in it, and we decided to move away from xylitol and erythritol just to kind of give people that were holding out because maybe they don't those ingredients don't agree with them. We use allulose in this one, and so allulose and honey we should have something for everyone now with this in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, as I stated, the honey bun is my favorite. The berry is really good. My daughter, as I told you before the show, every morning wakes up, Dad got a piece of cinnamon gum, cinnamon. So you got cinnamon, you got mint, you got honey bun, you got berry. So no matter your palate, they've got something for you.
Well, real quick before we move into listener question, what's your flavor development process like now? I know in the beginning we kind of talked about how you started doing this yourself. Like now that you have a team, are you still like kind of the master flavor, flavor maker,
The
if you
guru.
will? Or do you have people on your team that are kind of experimenting and sort of like an R&D uh, department, if you will? Or how is that? How do you do that these days?
Yeah, I encourage experimenting a ton, and so anyone is sort of welcome to it if they're in the manufacturing department. But that's the most fun part of the job is coming up with flavors. I don't think I would just give that away to anyone. Like, maybe I'd rather give away handling all like the paperwork, but I definitely wouldn't want to give away the thing that I enjoy doing most, aside from like the content. So I'll probably be in the driver's seat for flavors for a while. Um, that doesn't mean I'll be the only one doing it, but I enjoy that part a lot.
Okay, so now transferring into the listener question. So, Nate, we have listeners write into us, or write into me at kyle@witnessbusiness.com. And we kind of go through and we'll aggregate all the different questions and we'll say, all right, well, this is a good fit for this guest based on their background or, what we're able to read up on you preemptively. So, today's question says, I have an interest in starting a company based on natural care products. What advice would you have to get to start a business like that versus the conventional giants that exist?
Make it yourself. I feel like that's in my mind that's the only way to make a product when you don't have really any experience and you don't have maybe the funds. But that was like a prerequisite for me. Every product that I wanted to develop, it had to be something that I could make myself initially because I didn't want to or couldn't afford like product development. And natural products have the advantage of being some of the easiest products you can make yourself. You don't have to do any crazy scientific techniques. Buy the ingredients that you think you want to use, look at all the resources online. Depending on what you want to make, there's probably someone that's already done it that can at least give you a starting point. But really, just make it yourself, hand it out to friends and family, see if people like it, get the feedback.
Step one is to start tinkering at least, though, or do the research like you did.
Yeah.
No, I love that though because you're right. Like when it's not natural, that's when you have to like take it to the lab and do all this experimentation and
Hmm.
whatever else on it. Versus when it's natural, just like buy the ingredients, make it in your kitchen.
When it's
Yeah.
natural, you make a small batch, you decide it tastes terrible, and then you make another better batch that's also small, right?
Yeah, it's like he had that gummy guy that was on here, which I did actually buy his gummies online.
Oh,
Same thing. He was making it
uh,
himself and got to a point to where he
yeah,
needed a scientist.
rotten gummies.
Yeah, good. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that while we're talking about my product, but geez, those he did a great job with those.
No, see, that's the way you do it, is that you go buy rotten gummies and then you're like, oh, my teeth, I need gum. I need something to fix it.
No,
Yeah,
but it's less sugar. His rotten gummies are
Yes.
less sugar, so
yeah.
not
That's
as bad.
true. That's true.
But
So then
they
it's like
were
over
good.
the top. It's like super healthy.
Mm,
They just made it to my local grocery store, so
really?
the rotten did. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I bought a big
Uh,
box and handed them out here.
they're pretty, yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, love the store. We actually just made gummy bears with this guy yesterday or 2 days ago, and they did not turn out quite as good as rotten did.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
hard
There's
to
more
do
to
on
it than
your
just
own.
There's a
juice
little
and
more to it than just throw some gelatin and some juice
yeah.
and
Yeah.
call it a gummy.
Who'd have thunk it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well,
All
Nate,
right, but anyway,
yeah,
Nate,
we really appreciate you joining us. I mean,
yeah,
from
congratulations on all the success so far. I
yes,
think it's incredible to hear how Underbrush has gone from just a few, what'd you say, 30 sample packs to
Mm,
the initial few to hundreds of thousands of these sold every year. So, congratulations on your success. We're rooting for you, and we just appreciate letting us pick your brain for a little while.
I was gonna say you have fans not just in between the two of us, but also some very happy toddlers who are very gum focused right now. So, thank you for making something that's not junk. Thank you for making something that has longevity and health benefits. And we're wishing you nothing but continued success, and we'll be cheering you on.
awesome. Thank you guys for having me on. It's been great.